You've waited 82 long games for this moment, and it is finally here. The playoffs kick off this coming Saturday, and the Jets are ready to go.
You're Locked On the Hockey Jets, your daily podcast on the Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Winnipeg Jets fans, welcome to tonight's episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Harrison Lee, an avid Winnipeg Jets fan and an online blogger. You can follow me on Twitter at HLivingLoco and at LO_Winnipeg Jets. Thanks for making Locked On Jets your first listen of the day every day. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all of your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. Doing so, of course, is always free of charge and ensures you never miss another episode. Most of all, though, we just love and appreciate your support. Tonight's episode, obviously, the Jets have just wrapped up their regular season. It is time for the playoffs. Later this week, probably Friday, we will have a crossover show with Locked On St. Louis Blues to talk through this coming weekend's playoff series, which officially, as of now, starts on Saturday at 5 p.m. Central. Get ready. The playoffs are finally here. But of course, the Jets still had some business to take care of. Primary goal tonight against the Ducks was to not get injured, and the Jets did accomplish that. We'll chat about that in just a brief second, but before we do, did want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Now, like I said, the Jets just finished wrapping up their regular season. 56 wins on the year is pretty dang good, man. A season franchise record for standings results, 116 points on the year, 80 plus 86 goal differential, President's Trophy, second consecutive Jennings Trophy, and I believe this is the first time it's ever been done by a goalie on his own. Usually it's been a jointly shared award, but Hellebuyck, he always has the lion's share of the starts, and so this year he has done it again, second consecutive season. What an accomplishment! And potentially, he's got the Vezina wrapped up. He may have the Hart Trophy as well. He has a shot at potentially finishing this season, leading all four statistical categories. As of right now, he is just shy of the save percentage by 1 percentage point. If Stolarz starts tomorrow, there is a chance that maybe that comes down, but I mean, he's basically doing it, right? I mean, we're talking about Stolarz, who's played like 33 or 34 games versus Hellebuyck playing like 60. So it really shouldn't be comparable. But here we are having to talk about it anyways. But yeah, I mean, who even cares, right? So the Jets were basically already ready for the postseason, but tonight's game obviously was Winnipeg's tune-up, their last chance to kind of get out any loose threads, work on some final moments, and really just get ready for the weekend. And the Jets came out and basically dominated Anaheim from like the start of the game. It wasn't really a serious affair, but the Jets did they came close with a couple of injuries. Perfetti got hit a couple of different times, whether it was a puck or two to the face. He fell on his arm, on a Strome missed tripping call. So, Morrissey also had to dodge a hit in open ice. Lots of little moments where I think Jets fans were probably holding their breath just a bit. But at the end of the day, the Jets got through and then, survived, no injuries, and they won in overtime thanks to Josh Morrissey balling out on a 2-on-1, and it sprang Connor and Scheifele back the other way for a great winner. So, yeah, 99 points for Connor this year. What a season it's been. Scheifele getting the game winner. Josh Morrissey continuing to be Josh Morrissey. This game would have been over in regulation if Ville Husso decided, to just allow one in, right? He was apparently thinking that this game was going to get the Ducks into the playoffs because he played like this game was the most important game of his career. So crazy performance from him. But, obviously, even if the Jets lost, no one really would have cared. It's ready to go for the playoffs. The whiteout is almost here. That's really the only thing that we were worried about. But the Jets still got the win. They close out the season with their best ever standings record. So exciting times. Funny enough, what is a little bit amusing is that all three of the top Central Division seeds finished with the same amount of goals for, but it's in the goals against where the Jets have a decisive advantage. So that should be interesting. Dallas wrapped up their season as well, and they are in some real trouble. This is their seventh straight loss. They have not won a game in a while, and they are heading into the playoffs with some real bad juju. So, not exactly the happiest moment for them. But if you're looking elsewhere, one of the big last playoff stories was Montreal versus Columbus. Montreal has clinched and landed the final wild card spot, so they will be taking on the Washington Capitals in the opening round. A little bit unfortunate for the Jackets. I think some of us, at least, were rooting for them a bit, but I think that they were even within touching distance of the postseason is really a testament to their resolve and the heart and grit that team showed. So hope to see them back in the playoffs next year. But for Montreal, the crowd was rocking. They look like they're ready to basically just throw themselves on the ice. There was so much energy and excitement. It's not quite the result that I think we were hoping for, but Habs fans have to be ready, and Bell Center is going to be absolutely electric in the opening round against Washington. So, yeah, man, this is going to be a pretty crazy weekend. Obviously, the Jets are going to be taking on the Blues. Should be a fun time. We'll probably have some shorts out over the weekend as we go through the first couple of games. It'll be a good weekend of action. I'm looking forward to it. Winnipeg is, got a really big chance to show out. We don't, I believe, have the entire schedule just yet. But for the Jets, this is confirmed to happen on Saturday for Winnipeg. So good times. I think we're all ready. It is finally here. And on Friday, of course, we'll talk a little bit about maybe some series predictions, maybe who we expect to be in for each team. Obviously, big season storylines and really playoff storylines heading into what is one of the more intriguing rematches of the past couple of seasons, right? Because the Jets and the Blues have faced each other before. Did not go well for Winnipeg the last time. It's been 6 years, so these teams are really not the same. The Blues, the last time they faced the Jets, went on to win the Stanley Cup after that. So, that team obviously does live in a little bit of Jets infamy just because, for Winnipeg, we weren't really a cup contender back then, but a little frustrating to see another team go on to have that experience. So, hopefully this time things are different, and I feel like it probably will be if anything is to go by. In terms of any injury changes, not really much is new. Velarde did skate again earlier today, so that's good news. Ehlers not skating. Kupari continues to not skate. His thing, whatever is going on with him, it's a little concerning. So he may not be playing again for the rest of the season. Thankfully, the boys have really stepped up in the bottom six, so I think they'll be able to take care of business. But yeah, whatever ails him is a little worrying, and I hope that it's not something that impacts his standard and comfort of living. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, the Jets did kind of kick off this afternoon with some really big news. We'll chat about the Alex Iafallo extension and why I think it's a fantastic deal for Winnipeg in just a brief second. But before we do, did want to let you know about our friends and partners at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where the heck did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And with everything going up in price these days, it is really important to get your finances under control. And that's where Monarch Money helps. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. When you use Monarch Money, you might find out that you're spending way more on subscription services than you realize, and it can help you get that under control. Maybe you're ordering a few too many delivery coffees in the morning and you're spending way more than you realize. Monarch Money can help you track that and take care of some of those habits, and even set longer term goals. So if you want to reduce your spending on those coffees or meals, or cut back a few streaming services, it can do it for you and help you track some of those behaviors, right? And you can do it all in one spot. And of course, if you've got a partner or spouse, they have easy collaboration tools to help you track shared accounts. So you'll always be on the same page, and it takes out some of the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Hey friends, and welcome back to this episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Every day, thank you so much for rejoining us on tonight's episode, as we are just continuing with some conversations, obviously ahead of the Jets playoffs. Going to be a really good time in Winnipeg, and I think we're all very excited. But even before tonight's big win that saw some big personal records, obviously Winnipeg's season record and regular season finishing standings was really impressive. Cole Perfetti had his 50th point. You know, all this stuff happened, but even before then, there was some big news for the Jets in terms of their free agents. Alex Iafallo was coming back on a 3-year, $10 million deal, about 3.67-ish mil per season. That is exactly where, some of the statistical models had him projected. But I think more importantly, this was a reduction in his cap hit, and you get him committed to the Jets after he's been playing on the top line, and he's frankly been brilliant alongside Connor and Scheifele. In a moment where the Jets needed some serious help in their top six, he has been a huge asset to rely on and lean on in a way that almost makes you wonder if maybe he should stay with that group. Obviously, for Winnipeg, this is a bit of a tough time. With injuries, it's not quite been ideal for the Jets. So Iafallo, who's provided some really strong defensive value over much of the season and has kind of rotated in and out, has found, I guess you could call it a new lease on life. It seems like he's really enjoying himself here. He talked about wanting to stick around and hoping to get a deal done a couple of weeks ago, but for the Jets to get him under market, I think is fantastic news. It continues to push against the narrative that no one wants to play in Winnipeg. He clearly does, and I think for especially a Cali kid to really feel connected to the Jets and want to stick around is great news. He could have gotten 4 to 4.5 plus on the market, I feel, pretty easily. So, the Jets, I think, add another feather in their cap of really turning around the culture and perception of this team and the city, really, the past couple of years with some of these continued signings. And you don't want to bring back every single free agent because, you've got some young players in your system that you kind of need to start getting NHL reps, and you want to make sure that you can balance out your cap situation. But the Jets did this all with the notion that, next year's cap's going to be significantly higher. Free agents are going to be asking for more, and yet they still got a pretty tidy piece of business taken care of. Now, what is interesting to consider is what this may or may not mean for some of their other free agents, right? So I think Mason Appleton probably is spending his last year as a Jet. I think Appleton, is due for a raise, and I think the Iafallo contract was probably amongst some of the UFAs a higher priority for Winnipeg. I would have chosen Al over most of our expiring contracts. Obviously, he's not like Ehlers level important, but he is amongst our UFAs one of the most important guys that I thought, I would have liked to have seen the Jets bring back. And Iafallo has really proven to be a great locker room guy, a great fit with this team culturally. His on-ice performance recently has been sparkling, so really great to see him come back. And with Appleton, I have a soft spot for Mason in a fourth-line role, but we all know that the Jets have kind of asked him to be more than that over the years because they kind of seen him as the Mason or the Andrew Copp replacement. But I think Appleton's ability level has kind of, ever since the Kraken stint, not been the same. He's not quite been that level of player, and so unfortunately, I feel like a separation is probably in the interests of both parties. I think the Jets need to add a little more finishing talent to their bottom six, which they could do with Shibrakov and potentially Dmitry Rashevsky coming over here next year. And Appleton, I mean, he's does good forechecking work and stuff, no doubt. And I think that there's a team out there that will probably give him a decent amount of money, but I just don't think it should be the Jets. I think Winnipeg and Mason have gotten along for a while. I'm sure that the room will miss him, and we always appreciate his services and stuff. But I think the Jets, this is kind of where, after a big season, you need to be smart about how you allocate your resources and roster spots, and it does become a bit of a business decision. So I think Mason's probably going to test free agency, and I also start to wonder about Pionk as well, right? You've got a lot of defenders right now with some level of term under contract. Obviously, Sandberg is about to get a big contract raise and term himself. My guess is his deal is going to be for 6-ish, 7-ish years. So Pionk, he's got a fairly big market. There's really not that many offensively minded right-handed D out there that are due for free agency. So amongst a pretty small pond of fish, he's going to be one of the biggest ones. And I think for the Jets, it's important to not fall into the trap of seeing this season as the kind where you give him 7+ mil. He's done really well, but it's really been alongside Sandberg. When Pionk is away from Sandberg, it's a very different story. And so for the Jets, if you commit a lot of money to him, you really have to hope that Sandberg continues to stay healthy. When Sandberg isn't there to help him, it is not a pretty picture. So for the Jets, obviously, you look at what they've got in store right now, and Miller could probably do the job. You've got Dylan Coughlin. You just brought in Shen as well. And so for your right-handed depth, you've actually got a fair few number of players. And it makes Pionk's cap hit a little more manageable to let it go, right? You don't have to have him in the lineup with the amount of players who do some similar stuff, but maybe don't have as much chaos inherent in their game. Will Miller have the elite offensive upside that Pionk sometimes does? Not necessarily, but I think Colin will trade that for more defensive stability, generally speaking, right? Even Colin is not immune to turnovers and stuff every now and then, but between him and Neal, I think I trust him a little more in his own zone. So for Winnipeg, they don't have a ton of ability to sign every single free agent, and so I think Iafallo was probably one of the bigger priorities. Velarde and Ehlers to some level are going to be priorities. My guess is Ehlers will still walk unless something changes. It just is a vibes thing at this point, but maybe there is still hope for Winnipeg to find a way to bring him back long term. But Sandberg, of course, he remains the number one goal, and I am sure that contract extension is going to be announced here sometime over the next couple of months. It's got to happen, right? He is really one of the cornerstones of this team. He is one of our most important skaters. He's proven it multiple times this season, either with his presence or lack thereof. So really hope that gets done. But yeah, Iafallo coming back, great news, man. And it kind of, to me, in some ways, it almost pushes against what happened at the trade deadline, where the Jets were complaining about everyone's no trade clauses and stuff. And it's like, well, maybe that really didn't need to be your focus, right? I think that there were maybe other players who, would have come here that didn't have trade protections. And so, it is kind of one of those things where at least the Jets are showing that, in terms of free agency, they can retain talent. And maybe that'll change things in the future if Winnipeg does decide to go for guys with continued trade protections. Maybe all of these players continuing to commit to Winnipeg longer term is a sign that the tides are shifting, right? The barn is selling out routinely again. The fans are really bought in. It sounds like tonight's fan appreciation night was huge. The city is getting a better rep. More and more players are extending here. So, perhaps things for the future are really being put in place to make Winnipeg sexy again. So uh, all I can say is it's good news, right? The free agents that you bring back, you continue to get on really good team friendly deals. It just gives the Jets so much more flexibility to build this team out going forward, and I hope that they continue to manage it wisely. So, great work from Chevy. Another great, asset to this team who was brought in and has become more than just a throw-in from the Dubois deal. Iafallo has really been instrumental this season, so glad that he is going to spend probably the duration of what remains of his career here as a Winnipeg Jet. But of course, amidst all of this, the biggest thing for Winnipeg is now that they've got their extension out of the way, they've got their season out of the way, the weekend awaits, and it's going to be a big one in Winnipeg. We'll talk about what to expect this coming weekend in broad strokes before our crossover episode here in just a brief second. But before we do, did want to let you know about our friends and partners at FanDuel. The NBA and NHL playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy because you can pick your favorite team and dive into different player props, whether it's the number of three-pointers to steals to assists, or in hockey terms, how many hat tricks you might see, assists, goals, all that fun stuff. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite players all throughout the game, all throughout the playoffs. They will have everything tracked, and you can do it while games are in progress. And after the games tip off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out right now and get in on all of the great playoff action that's going to be coming up over the next few weeks by heading over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Hey friends, and welcome back to these closing thoughts on tonight's episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Every day, thank you so much for rejoining us on tonight's episode as we are just wrapping up with some final thoughts ahead to what's going to be a big weekend in Winnipeg. Obviously, the Whiteout is finally here. Street parties are going to be happening. Watch parties are going to be kicking off on Saturday. I think a lot of us are pretty excited about the playoffs, which is really rare to say because the last several years that the Jets have made the postseason, I think we've all looked at Winnipeg and said, this team is more of a paper tiger than it usually is, right? This year is different. This year, I feel like this Jets team has shown us beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're different and more real in a way that they haven't been in a while. They've won games at 5v5 and done so in really impressive fashion against the top-ranked teams of the West. They've done it routinely, and they're not here in first place in the league by accident. This team isn't just leaning on a power play or Hellebuyck anymore. They are across the board very strong. Their PK is above average. Their 5v5 offense and chance creation has really improved. Defensively, they're playing some of the tightest hockey as a team that they have played the entire season. And, they're doing all of this without guys like Pionk, Ehlers, and Velarde throughout the last several weeks. Obviously, Pionk and Ehlers have come back on and off. But this team has shown, I think, true colors in a way that it didn't before. And so for me, I'm thinking that Saturday is going to be a big statement game, right? Winnipeg really wants to come out of the gate swinging. You've got a Blues team that you just took down a couple of days ago. You smoked them out 4-0 on the road. You showed in pretty emphatic fashion that, despite being the hottest team in the league, the Jets really weren't that afraid of them, right? Winnipeg continues to be one of the strongest teams in the NHL against top teams in the West this year. And, they walked in and basically said, St. Louis, you're a good team, but we're built different. And they showed them that. They've showed the Stars that. They've done it to Vegas. They've beaten Colorado, this year. So Winnipeg, I feel like if there was ever a year for them to vanquish their demons, go on their revenge tour, and really make a statement about the kind of team that this is now, this is it, right? The old locker room wounds have healed. The players are all bought in, and I feel like Arneal, for whatever his idiosyncrasies may be with some of the lineup decisions, he gets a lot of buy-in and respect from the guys in a way that, Maurice, I think, really struggled to at the end. Scheifele looks like he's reborn again, right? Mark, you can kind of tell when he's not bought in. There's just a different level of body language and play from him out on the ice. And like he has been this year, just so laser focused. He's been locked in almost from the start and just looks like the kind of player that I think a lot of us had dreamed of several years ago. So he looks great. Kyle Connor's game has really improved defensively. He's really bought in the two-way aspect. You're seeing some, career years from guys like, well, I guess you could probably argue Sandberg. Dylan has taken a really big step forward, so happy for him. Obviously, guys like Kupari have really stepped up. Morgan Barron looks like an absolute beast again. Who else? I mean, Hellebuyck. You don't even really need to say Hellebuyck, but Hellebuyck is Hellebuyck, right? Having a fantastic year. Lowry continues his bounce back that really kickstarted under Bones. And so I just feel like this team is peaking at the right time and they're playing hockey the right way. And if they lose in these early rounds, I feel like more than like being angry or feeling frustrated, I will just be sad for the team because I feel like it won't be for a lack of effort and performance. This team will just get beat by something, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I really feel like Winnipeg has something in it this year. Maybe it's the dog in them. I don't know. But there's something about this team that's hungrier for change. And I am really excited. So game one, I think we're going to see a big Jets win. We'll save the exact predictions and storylines for Friday's episode. But, if I'm you and you're in Winnipeg right now, make sure to hit up your friends, go to a watch party. If you can make it to the street party, great. If you've got tickets for the first game, let me know. We'd love to hear your experience, especially this coming weekend after the first game or so is over. Drop your favorite moments from the game in the comments once we have that stuff underway. I am just I'm ready for it, man. It has been a while since I've genuinely been excited about the playoffs, and I feel like this year is the year. I don't know what kind of result we're going to see. I don't know how far the Jets are going to go, but I feel like this is the year that we finally get real Jets playoff hockey back, and I'm excited, man. And I hope that, whatever happens at the end of the season, it just keeps going, right? I feel like Winnipeg has finally turned the right corner, and people are starting to put real respect on the Jets name again. So looking forward to the start of the series on Saturday. Feel free to drop your series predictions in the comments below. Obviously, I'm going to save mine until Friday, so we'll talk about that then. But for tonight's episode, that is going to be all the time that we have. I thank you so much for listening and making Locked On Jets your first listen of the day every day. We'll see you back here tomorrow and Friday for more Jets coverage. So see you then. Have a great night. And as always, go Jets go.